Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to the Phoenix Comicon. And let's see, before we get started, one thing, if you could turn your cell phones to either vibrate or silent, that would be great. Let me make sure mine is on that too. It is. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Phil LaMarr is well known within the world of voice acting. Very diverse credits to his name. You've heard him in numerous television shows and movies, such as Hermes on Futurama, Aquaman on Young Justice, Bail Organa on The Clone Wars, and the Earth King on The Last Airbender. In addition, he's also done live-action work such as Mad TV and one of my personal favorites, the unfortunate victim of the gun in the back of the car in Pulp Fiction. Everybody, Phil LaMarr.
That really annoys me that Avatar has now lost its name, thanks to James Cameron. No, nobody wants to see The Last Airbender because it's Avatar of the blue people, it's Avatar of The Last Airbender. Just say The Last Airbender, because otherwise James Cameron will sue us and he has hundreds of millions of dollars. Thank you all for coming. Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, I'm very excited to be here. It's my first time in Phoenix and first time at the con as well. Although I don't suppose I could come to the con and not come to Phoenix. That would be an impossibility. What else can I tell you? I don't know. I guess the floor is open to questions. I don't think there's really anything. I mean, Mike just sort of laid out the basic career stuff.
Well, how about you let us know how you got started? I'm personally very, very interested in the history of how you got started, and especially in the voice acting.
Well, it's interesting. In junior high, I was a kid who spent a lot of time reading. I could spend hours in a bookstore from a very young age. And then in 8th grade, my school was doing a production of a play based on the book The Phantom Tollbooth, which was my favorite book. And to this day, my two favorite books are The Phantom Tollbooth and Alice in Wonderland. They're the two books that I never go anywhere, like house-wise. They're always wherever I live. And they were doing The Phantom Tollbooth, and there was a part of, how many of you are familiar with the story of The Phantom Tollbooth? It's about a little boy named Milo who is just bored and boring and doesn't like school and doesn't like learning and doesn't like knowledge. And then he takes a trip into this fantastic world that is about learning and words and math and knowledge and all the stuff that's in school, but it makes it really fascinating and interesting, and he starts learning things in spite of himself. But he winds up on a mission to save the princess's rhyme and reason. And as he's going through the mountains of ignorance, towards the end of the book, there is a character called the census taker. And it sounds like census, like the 2010 census, but it's in fact the senses taker that takes your sense of duty, your sense of purpose, and the only thing he can't take is your sense of humor. And that's how Milo and his friends are able to defeat him. I wanted this part so badly. This one little character in the very end of the play. And so I went and auditioned, and I got cast instead as one of the three leads. There's Milo, Tok the Watchdog, and the Humbug. And I got cast as Tok, the Watchdog. And the play begins in the real world. And it opens with the real world version of Tok, Milo's clock in his room, giving a monologue to the audience. So my first time performing in front of an audience was, I had to walk out on stage, wait 30 seconds standing there alone, and then give a monologue to the audience. And it was amazing. It just felt so incredible to I walked out on the stage. I'm I have very poor vision, but I didn't wear my glasses. It's pitch black. The audience is in black. There's a light shining on my face. I can't see anything, but I can feel the energy of the audience, sort of like a wave coming up over the edge of the stage. And even though I can't see them, I know they're there. And when the energy from the audience like got to me, I felt more, stronger, powerful. In fact, the first thought that crystallized in my mind before I started speaking was, these people are mine. And basically, I've been probably chasing that feeling ever since. I mean, just a single transformative experience right there. And I've never really considered any other career from that. I mean, I never really considered it a career. It was just something I did and enjoyed. Although all of the colleges I applied to had drama programs, so I was sort of, but I'm like, it's not my job, it's not my career. And I graduated and was like, well, guess I'll go home to LA and try to be an actor, I guess, until my real career comes along. And so I'm still waiting for whatever I'm really going to do to appear to me. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep acting, I guess. But that was the beginning creatively. The beginning professionally was in high school. I did the Mr. T cartoon. It was one of the few cartoons back in the 80s that was using actual kids for the kids' voices. Because usually it was, women playing kids, because you can do it longer. But for this cartoon, I don't know why they decided to use kids. Maybe they thought they might use us on camera because they had the real Mr. T doing the voice of Mr. T. And he would appear on camera at the beginning and the end of each show to lay out the lesson for the show. And let's make no bones about it, the show was horrible. It was it wasn't, you know those Hanna-Barbera cartoons from the olden days? Yeah. This was a cartoon made by Ruby Spears, which was like Hanna-Barbera's broke cousin. Well, Hanna-Barbera reuses all of those backgrounds. Is there any way we can get a hold of their old backgrounds that they don't use anymore? Use those over? No, the acting was bad, the show was bad, the concept was atrocious. It was Mr. T as the coach of a gymnastics team. Yeah. A traveling kids gymnastics team that goes around the country solving mysteries. Why not? He's famous, okay. And so we did that, then went to college, and then came home to LA. After about a year, after being home, trying to pursue acting, I almost quit because nothing was happening. And it didn't seem like anything was going to happen. I think the only thing I accomplished in my first year out of college was I auditioned for a community theater play that was advertising in one of the local acting papers. And I got the part, I got the title role in a play called A Dog's Life. So I was in a full dog suit, running around on all fours, pretending to pee on things for free. I mean, I don't know, I figured if I was ever gonna have a, furry suit job, I would at least get paid for it, at a theme park or something, but no. And this also was horrible. It was the worst play I've ever read to this day. The first act was a bad knockoff of All in the Family, but then the talking dog makes Archie Bunker realize that racism is bad. That's the first act. Yeah, the play ends at the first act. But then, the crotchety uncle comes to visit, and then we're a bad ripoff of A Christmas Carol. And the talking dog makes the crotchety uncle realize the miracle of Christmas. And then it's New Year's, 1959, and then it's the 60s, and everybody's gonna smoke drugs and take skydiving classes. It was really bad. So after that, I almost quit acting. And then I stopped and said, well, have you really tried? Have you done everything in your power and then failed? Then I realized, no. I had done some things in my power and definitely failed, but I hadn't done everything. So I swallowed my pride and stuck my head down and kept going. And there was some horrible agent woman I was working with who said, you need to take classes. I'm like, you don't know, I went to college, I don't need to take classes. But then I thought, well, okay, I know she's an idiot, and I know she's unprofessional, and she makes her clients go pick up her dry cleaning, but maybe she's right. Maybe I do need to take some classes. And I did. And I went back and I took a class. I don't know if it was a good class, I don't know how much it helped me, but the guy running the class was a manager, and he agreed to sign me as a client. And from that manager, I was able to meet an agent who was actually good. And then once I got the agent, I then began to audition for shows. I began primarily as an on-camera dramatic actor. And at the same time, I was taking classes at the Groundlings, which is an improv, a comedy troupe in LA that, you know, started the careers of Lisa Kudrow, Pee Wee Herman, Will Ferrell, Sherry O'Terry, Chris Kattan, Phil Hartman. I mean, Kristen Wiig, like tons and tons and tons of people. And I started taking classes there for fun, just to do improv. And then found myself actually getting work from the thing that I was paying to do. And at the same time, trying to audition for, I would be auditioning for, you know, dramas, you know, play gang leaders and stuff. I didn't get those parts. But I started getting comedy work from the Groundlings, and slowly but surely started to make a living. And then for about 4 years, I kept saying, I should get into voiceover. Or people would say, you should get into voiceover. I was like, I should get into voiceover. And I didn't. And then I got onto Mad TV, and then I really didn't. That's one of the tough things about any middling level measure of success. It makes you comfortable. It's like, oh, okay, now I don't have to pursue anything. I know I've got a steady job for at least 13 weeks. But that's the other thing. That's why any level of comfort is never really good, because everything is temporary. No matter what show you think you're on, no matter how good you think you are, anything can be canceled or have you be replaced. There's a new Batman! Goodbye! Everything is temporary. But Mad TV did afford me the opportunity to start doing animation, because Corky Quakenbush did these claymation pieces. Anybody ever seen any of the, like Raging Rudolph? It was a parody of the old Rankin and Bass claymation Christmas specials. Yeah, and Klops. And so the cast of Mad TV voiced those, and that was really where I got, I think, the majority of my experience behind a microphone. And then, after a couple of years of that, I actually started auditioning for real cartoons. And I was sort of ready, you know, just by happenstance. And then I got very, very, very lucky in working on a bunch of shows. Weekenders, Static Shock, Futurama, Samurai Jack. Those were all shows, series where I was in every episode that I got within the first 2 years in working in voiceover. That's statistically unheard of. You know, to have that many good, I mean, that's the other thing. These were all really good shows, you know? And at first I didn't get it. I was like, well, this is how it is. You get a good job playing a fantastic character on something well written by people who are incredibly nice, and they pay you money, and you have things that you're really proud of and that you can watch all the time, right? That's show business. And then I had to do Clifford the Big Red Dog. Which again is not, I mean, that's not a bad show, that's not horrible, but I ain't gonna watch it. But yes, later I realized, oh, not everything is as good as these things I got to start out on. But now I feel like I'm talking a lot. I'd like to actually know that I'm saying something that matters to people in here. So, does anyone have any questions? Yes.
One quick question, like,
Not quick enough!
well, whenever you were recording, did anyone,
Ever stab me with a pen?
like, sound bomb you, like, you're recording and, this was gonna happen, but instead it's something drastically different?
One of the other people that I'm recording with do something that I wasn't expecting, like something that's not written down?
Yeah, like, hey dude, and then just something drastically extreme in that.
You know what, occasionally you will do something like that, you'll do something to mess somebody up or to make somebody laugh, but rarely. Because the thing is, we do mess around a lot, but usually you mess around in between takes. When they're rolling, you kind of don't want to be the person to blow the take, even if it would be really funny. But if somebody flubs, and you know the take is already blown, then you can come in with something. It's like, well, I've got to get my flight pattern. Well, you got to get your flight pattern, because you know it's. But yeah, generally that's sort of one of the unspoken things. Like, I'm not going to be the one who makes us do another take, just in case we're running late. You know, you don't want to be the one responsible. Yes.
What was it like getting shot by John Travolta?
Oh, that's funny. Somebody asked me that the other day. And my standard answer is, I don't know. I try never to be there when I'm getting shot in the face. And in Pulp Fiction, I actually wasn't. There was a scene that we shot where I was in the back of the car, and Quentin Tarantino and a cameraman were in the front seat. And then there was a scene where Sam Jackson and John Travolta were in the front of the car, and a cameraman was in the back seat. But there was never a time when all three of us were in the car together. So I never had to have the gun pointed in my face, thankfully. Yes?
How often do they give you time to prepare when you do voice work, when they introduce a new character, the character you're going to do? How often do they let you test out new voices for that character?
Well, there's two aspects of it. Usually, you'll get a script, depending on how how far in advance they have them. There's usually a day or a few days ahead of when you're recording, so you can read through it and figure out what you think you can do. And then, of course, once you come in, it's sort of a fluid process between the actor, the director, and the producers about trying to find something that you guys all agree is what the character should be. So you have an idea or maybe a couple of ideas when you come in, but you can't be married to those. You can't be stuck on those, because the producer may be coming into the room with an idea. And hopefully he's not stuck on his, because, you know, unless by happen chance you both are stuck on the same idea, it's going to be very difficult. It's like, well, I always thought he should be like, no, he's more like a deep voice. Like, really? Okay. You know, for me, the main thing is figure out what the character's about and then see where they are. for instance, I know that I tend to under-prepare compared to some people like Tom Kenny, who, when we come into a session for something like, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends or My Gym Partner is a Monkey, Tom always has his storyboard and he's always read the whole thing. I sometimes have my storyboard. Not always. I don't know. I'm going to say that part of that is my improv background. I just really like to let it flow, but some of it is I'm just lazy. You in the very back.
Well, this is kind of like a two-part question.
Are they good parts? Because please know, people, I will call you out if you start asking me bad questions.
So, from going from Mad TV to anime, what has been the biggest transition for you to go from that to that?
Well, I don't know. What have I done that you guys would consider anime? Final Fantasy.
Samurai Jack.
Afro Samurai is done. Would you consider Samurai Jack anime?
Not really.
Well, I guess we can all agree that that is not to be agreed on.
Cartoon.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's funny because really the difference between these different projects that we're talking about has more to do with how they're made than really what I'm doing that's different. Obviously the Final Fantasy stuff were video games, so there's a lot more stuff that's being recorded. Avatar is a half-hour show for a major cable network. So it's run, the production process for Last Airbender is the exact same as the production process for Fairly Odd Parents, even though they're wildly different things. They get a group of actors into this Nickelodeon studio and they record the lines in the 28-page script. Final Fantasy obviously is a completely different process. You're in there alone recording, for a video game, and you have this. I don't know if anybody was here for the previous panel, but we talked about the fact that with something like that, the script is huge, and you're a much smaller part of it, so you usually don't get everything. You don't get the full context. They, hopefully, if you're working with somebody good, they will give you an overview and then tell you how your character fits into it, and as much context as you can use, but you don't get to read the whole thing. So yeah, I would say the difference varies by medium.
Purple said yes, hand up.
This is also a two-part question as well. First off, how was your time working on a show like Samurai Jack? Like, did you enjoy it? And, like, how hard was it to work on it? Also, do you know if you'll be returning to do Jack in the possible new Samurai Jack movie?
I'll answer the second part first. I have no idea. I run into Genndy Tartakovsky every once in a while, and I know that he would like to do it. He wants to do it as a feature in theaters, in the same style as the show was.
Cool.
2D animation, not live action. I remember the first season of Samurai Jack, it was actually optioned to be a live action feature film by Brett Ratner. Coming off of Rush Hour. He saw the cartoon and loved it and decided to make a live action. Like, wait, wouldn't a live action version of Samurai Jack just be a Hong Kong action movie? Made by a white guy? They are already doing that. I don't know. Yeah, it seemed a bad idea to me. But hopefully, at some point, Genndy will find a way to put the project together. My time on it was wonderful. I had a great time working on it. The people, again, I was talking about, when you work for great people, and Genndy is one of those people who's just so amazing. He has a clear, distinct vision and style. He knows exactly what he wants, but he's completely open to what you want to bring to it. You know, I never felt constrained by him. And anything he offered to what I was doing, I felt like he was listening to what I was offering and then saying, oh, that's really good. What about this? Or maybe even pulling back even more. You know, you always felt like it was somebody working with you, not on you. And from the beginning, it was actually a rarity because he had done this animation test before we ever started recording the show, before we auditioned for it. I don't know if anybody remembers the first episode of Samurai Jack where he's fighting these giant bug alien robot things with his that was the original animation test. There was no dialogue. It was just portions of that fight sequence.
Cool.
And it was stunning, you know? And so you knew going in that you were working on something special. And we got great people to come in, you know, John DiMaggio is the Scotsman, Richard McGonigal, Gray Delisle, just a lot of fun people. And working with Mako was just incredible and a lesson. So yeah, overall, the process was incredibly enjoyable, and I'm actually really sorry that, one, we never got to finish the story, although, honestly, I would rather have never finished the story and just kept doing it. But I'm greedy that way. You in the back? Yes, you.
What's the other bit of voice acting like working with?
Say that again?
Which voice acting do you like working with?
All of them. Yeah. Oh wait. Actually, here. Let's go ahead and lay down the ground rules from carry over from the last panel. No questions with most, favorite, or least in them. I want you guys